All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Impact Tribe podcast, where we meet, greet, and learn all about innovators who are bringing positive impact to the world. I'm your host, Ashley Bright, and today on the podcast, I am joined by Sunny Kabrawala. I knew I was going to mess that up. I apologize. Who is the founder and director of space technology and aeronautic Rocketry, otherwise known as STAR. Sunny is on a mission to educate millions, inspire billions, and make space for everyone. So Sunny, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
So much for having me right now for this podcast. I'm really looking forward to having a great interaction with you.
Awesome. Well, we have chatted before, and I've been following you for many months, and I love what you're doing. So for those listening, would you mind just giving me kind of a quick overview of STAR and what it is you're doing there, and what problem you're solving with STAR and the people that are being impacted?
Sure. So basically, I live in a country, where every other kid aspire to be a space pioneer. And since my childhood, I always wanted to be a part of space industry and to contribute in this industry. Uh, but the thing is, we have got very limited platforms, and even those platforms have got a lot of criteria to be fulfilled in order to be part of this industry. So I was not so good at studying, and because of that, I didn't get admission in aerospace engineering university, and even I was not able to join any space company. And the only question that came in my mind was that how many students do we have got in our country who want to be a part of space industry but are not so good at studies, but they are really passionate about space. And the answer for the same is like almost every other kid want to be a space pioneer. So on one side, we had a lot of people waiting for the right opportunities. On the other side, we had lack of opportunities. So that is how I came up with the concept of providing space education to students. Uh, the only thing that we wanted to do new in this industry is our education programs are designed in such a way that only shares facts and figures with students and the knowledge. We wanted to share knowledge, but we also wanted to share three things, important things. One is we wanted to help students in figuring out to discover their purpose for their life. The second thing was in discovering the skills that they require to contribute to this industry. And the third is life ethics and principles. No matter how much successful you are, but if you don't follow life ethics and principles, you'll be back at the position where you got started without any respect. So that is what we wanted to inculcate, and with that vision, we started Start.
Wow, that is if you're going to go big because taking on educating an entire, I wouldn't say community, but I mean we're talking like a country. Really? I
Yeah.
mean, is that the reach of the students that you're working with?
Yeah, so right now, so far in 5 years, without any paid promotions, without any marketing, we have reached out to more than 30,000 plus students from 18 different countries. And right now we are operating in, as I mentioned, in 18 countries and serving students out there.
Wow. Wow. And so the as I sort of the way you described it is that there's a barrier to entry for many people in terms of the education and the certifications and all those sorts of things. And you as someone that are passionate about, solving this or exploring space, you ran into the same situation, so you can really relate to this.
Yes, true. The thing is, the only question that we ask a student when they join our courses is, why STAR? Why you should come to us? If you want to learn how to make rockets, you can just go on YouTube. You can search on how to make rockets. You'll get hundreds of videos. On Google, you'll find thousands of research papers. Why you should come to us? The only reason you should come to us is we will teach you how not to make rockets, what things can go wrong while building a rocket. Because we have experience of working on rockets and building them and launching them and messing up things a lot of times. And that is what we like to share. And that is how we focus on creating a community of people now, not only in India. And when we say spaces for everyone, we should not have constraint of nationality as well. Space is open for all. Every country can come together and work together in making Earth a better place to live.
Awesome. And so you said that you were very candid about the fact that you were not good at your studies. So how did you, I mean, does that just mean that you didn't sort of meet you didn't pass the tests or the criteria, but you learned all the things that need to be learned?
To be honest, I didn't like math and physics, which are core components to learn rocket science
Yep.
and space technologies. I didn't like them just because the way I was presented, these things was not so good. As you always say, that communication plays a very important role in uh, in conveying your message and in inculcating the interest in someone.
Hmm.
And that is what was missing, in the education system that we have got in our country. uh, and that was the case. So I was never shown the importance of physics and math in my life. We were just taught equations. We were just taught what are the important questions which will be there in the examinations and how can you crack the exams. That's it. And I was not interested in cracking exams. I was always interested in solving problems which are there in the real life. So I was not introduced to those problems, the application of the equations that we were taught in the schools. And that is the reason I never liked starting physics and math. But then when I got into my college, I started working on the projects. When I started facing real life challenges, uh, engineering challenges, I got to know I have to learn the applications of all the equations that we have learned in physics and math. And I just started working on those equations and building systems based on that, small prototypes, and then those prototypes got bigger and bigger, and that is how we started building high powered rockets, which are commercial rockets in India right now. So when you actually show the application of anything to anyone, that is the best way of communication. And every teacher needs to be a great communicator first. So that is what I believe, and that is what we are also focusing on improving our communication and the way we teach anything to students. It should always be effective.
Wonderful. I think my kids could both relate to your feeling because they study algebra and they are beside themselves with like they just don't care. They don't understand where it fits in their world. But my oldest, he is fascinated with cities and like city infrastructure and like highways and buildings and the traffic flow, which obviously math is going to play a huge role in that. But to your point, it's not being applied in a way that he finds interesting or engaging. And same thing with my youngest. I mean, he's into video games and he's into building models, all of which are math, engineering, and that kind of thing. But like the way he's learning it is very dry. It's not very engaging, and they can't see where it fits. And so I love that you took that and said, "Hey, I'm going to fix this for myself, and then I'm going to help others." And I loved you said earlier about sort of this curiosity, fueling that curiosity and not having that be a barrier. And I think more and more it's interesting. I've been having this sort of back and forth conversation with my wife because she went to graduate school and I'm a big believer in education and depending on what you're doing, I think you do need certifications and things like that. But she's very much about traditional higher education. And I've had this conversation because I'm seeing more and more people like yourself and others that they're kind of saying, the way you acquire the knowledge and the experience, it comes in a variety of different ways. There's sort of these hybrid models. And it's really more about acquiring that than it is about sort of what the college you went to, the university, the certificates. And so I don't know. We'll see. I think you're part of a big new wave of people that are saying, "To heck with this." I mean, in this country, at least the United States, the cost is astronomical for many people. People are coming out with thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and they're working until they retire in order to pay the debt off, which doesn't seem like that's what you should be doing. So I love that you've sort of taken this and you're like, I'm going to fix this problem. So I'm curious, what has the response been? I mean, are people seeking you out? Are you having to go find people? I mean, what about, I guess there's the people that you're educating, which I'm sure are quite enthusiastic. What about kind of the establishment in terms of educators or people in the established kind of aerospace industry? How are you guys being received?
The thing is, so there are two ways to grow a company and to take it to your customers. One is very simple. You create a great communication channel. You just try to educate. So a lot of people have misunderstood the concept of marketing. They think that you can just have a Facebook page or you can have an account on social media platforms and you can just do paid promotions, and that is how you can grow a company. Marketing is more about educating your customers and making them understand why to use your product or service, or what is the importance, what is the value you are going to add. and that is the best way you can communicate with the customers, and that is what we followed. A lot of people in India, they were not aware about when we got started, and they were not knowing the importance of having rocket clubs in different universities and trying out these things at this small scale. People used to think that there are a lot of government companies who are building rockets that are doing good, and if they want to be part of industry, they can take a job there and they can contribute to this industry. When we got started, the only thing that we had in our mind is we want to bootstrap this startup. We don't want to take investment, and we just don't want to put investors' money into this and grow it. We really wanted our customers to be our investors. We want that them to invest in our company and in exchange to take some service from us. So that is how we got started. And when we got started, we started putting the videos of rocket launches that we used to perform at that time. So in every month, we used to perform one or two rocket launches and we used to post them. We not only used to put our success, but we used to put our failure stories. We were really transparent with our audience. We used to show them at what point we are failing, and after the investigation, we used to figure out what are the mistakes we made, and we used to share those mistakes online to social media platforms in various ways, so that students who want to build rockets can learn things by just reading the captions of the post, and they can figure out that they should not repeat these mistakes in future. So that is how we created a very transparent bond between us and our students community. Second thing is, we did a lot of pre-sessions for them. What people believe is everything that you do, you should ask something in return from your customers, and that is not the case every time.
Mm.
We are good in few particular domains which are not related to space. Like, we are good at design thinking, we are good at public speaking, we are good at different domains. Every member of Star have got some speciality. We thought of sharing that speciality with students by doing pre-sessions. So we conduct a lot of pre-sessions for students. Recently we launched a free ebook. So there are free ebooks on how to make rockets, but they are really expensive.
Mm.
And in India, no one have ever written a book on rocket science. And we thought of putting our all the experiences in one book, and then we launched it in the market. It was free of cost. In just one day, we got 1,200 plus users for that particular book, and we were really happy with the response that we got. So it's not about you know just generating revenue and just analyzing your performance based on the revenue you get. We should analyze a performance based on how much impact you are creating, how many
Mm.
people are getting benefited by you, right? And that is what matters, and that is what keeps you going throughout the years. And that is what we are focused on, and that is why, like, we are coming up with another session in Upskill, which is a series of 8 sessions, which are going to be completely like free of cost for students. So that is how we are building a community and just having one vision of serving students and spending this life helping them.
That's awesome. And I think you opened talking about marketing. And I mean, one of the tenets is that you want to be providing incredible value and you want to be transparent and be authentic, and that is, I think a fundamental of successful marketing, building a brand, building a community. And I would imagine when it comes to, anything to do with like rocketry, aerospace, engineering, that kind of thing, that people, before people like Elon Musk and that kind of, they weren't really particularly transparent about the mistakes or the things they didn't know, because, we don't like to think about people with that level of technology they're firing over into the space, that they don't know entirely what the outcome's gonna be, and so it's wonderful that you've been breaking that barrier, if you will. And so let me ask you this: how did you two things. How did you, first of all, sort of become interested in this, in terms of just space and wanting to pursue this? And then the second question is, how did you sort of gain the knowledge or the wherewithal to understand about kind of the fundamentals of marketing and communication and building that community?
First, like, the first answer I'll give is how I got passionate about space and like how I found my passion. I always since my childhood, when I was 10 year old, uh, I got to know about Sunita Williams and Kalpana Chawla. They were Indo-American astronauts. I got to know about them, and that is how my interest kept on building. I kept on asking questions to my parents and my teachers about why people go to space and how they can go to space. And that is how I started learning about this. At that time, I didn't have internet connection at my place. I didn't have smartphones or even a personal computer. So only way I could gather the knowledge was by watching television shows which were based on space.
Mm-hmm.
And second was encyclopedia. I still remember I got an encyclopedia and I just went to the space section and I just read about how rockets are built. I was too young for that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, at that time, it was my dream to become an aerospace engineer in future. I was always aspiring for the same. Uh, as I grew up, so like it takes time for your interest to turn into your passion. Now the question is how you differentiate your interest and passion. Interest is like a crush that keeps on changing, but passion is like a wife that remains one that throughout your life, right? If you go through struggles, what you do is you don't take a divorce directly. What you do is you sit with your partner, you discuss problems, you take some time, you give that person some space, you take a break, and then in the end, you tend to stay with each other, like whatsoever things happens.
Mm-hmm.
In similar way, I knew that space is something which is fascinating, and I am passionate about. I'm never going to leave this domain, even if I face a lot of struggles, and I just want to contribute to this industry. And that got stronger and stronger. Like if you date a person a very first like in very first date, you cannot propose a girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you do is you spend some time with that person, and if you just tell that person that you love her, that is not how you show love. You
Mm-hmm.
just care for that person. That is the best way to show love. And your attitude during her tough time defines you as a person, right? And your relationship with that person.
Mm-hmm.
That is what happened with me. Tough time for me at that time was not getting enough resources to learn things, to acquire knowledge. So I was just figuring out, I was striving hard, how can I gather more and more resources so that I can gain knowledge and I can learn things. I used to talk about space with my friends. They used to consider me crazy for doing so because I was not so good at studies. And that is how one day I realized that there's no one specific day when you actually realize, but at some point you feel that I am made for this. I really want to do this as my profession in future. And that was a point where I got to know now I should think of something for the long term space and I can contribute this industry. I was not aware how to do that. I was just planning to get a job in some company and to work for that company. So that is how I got my passion at the young age. It actually took time to to be converted from interest to passion. Coming to the next question, which was related to learning the parameters of a business, which is marketing, which is about creating idea, prototype. I always believe if you want to learn swimming, you cannot just watch a YouTube channel and learn how to swim. You need
Mm-hmm.
to get into water. When I got started, Star was not a company. Got started with an intention of just forming a rocket club. In the end, an entrepreneur is a person who just solve problems for others. When we are working, we don't keep that we are working for a company. We just keep one thing in our mind that we are working for solving a problem. For example, imagine that Star gets shut down tomorrow, and if you come to me, if you ask me, Sunny, if you can teach me rocket science, I won't say that Star is no more, we are no more operating, I will not teach you. I'm not teaching you because I'm working at Star. I'm teaching you because I'm passionate about teaching and I'm passionate about space, and still I'll teach you how to make rockets, right? So thing is, I started working on rockets. I started teaching that to students, and at some point in 2018 we got to know that a lot of investors and a lot of people, they started calling us and they wanted to invest, and we were not incorporated as a company. We were just a group of people working together for a problem, and then we got an idea, let's get incorporated as a private limited company, and that is what we did. And then afterwards we started learning things, and we started learning by attending startup events, by listening to podcasts, by listening to speakers, and by getting experience and by implementing them at our own level, and making some iterations based on our experiences, the situations that we were facing. And it's it's everything which was mixed, but in the end everything was effective and like satisfied.
Wow. So I could imagine. I mean, it's so clear. I mean, hearing you describe it, it makes so much sense now that you were, as you said, as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, you're solving problems. And it doesn't matter whether it's a technical problem around sort of an aerospace challenge or a business challenge or a communication challenge or a, whatever that is. And it's so interesting because I think that, traditionally you think of engineers, people in the scientific realm being obviously very good at numbers, very good at detail, data, but not particularly good at communication, sharing their ideas, seeing the bigger picture, having vision. And I think what you're demonstrating is that the benefit of not having that kind of like sort of almost blinders on kind of thinking. Because I could see if, for example, if you were in an academic setting and you were talking to other academics about how do I start a business where I can educate people, they would have not talked about like going to pitch events or learning about communication or learning about marketing. I would imagine it would have been very academic and rigorous, and it would have taken you years to get there. So I think it's wonderful that you kind of had this perspective, and I think this is true of the generations coming up. I mean, I look at my children, and they're already sort of talking about how they can, make money doing X or how they can make money doing Y. And I listen to my kids when they interact with friends online, and it's just a different way of thinking about things. They feel like everything is possible, and they have access to information, and I think that's wonderful. And I sometimes wonder if things would have been different, how I woto be different having had access to that level of information at a young age. Because I do, you mentioned going, getting the encyclopedia, like going to the library. Like I remember that too. I'd be fascinated. Like, I would record documentaries I'd see on TV, and the VHS tape, I'd record it and then I'd watch it again and again because I didn't have any other way. It was YouTube before I had YouTube, right? And
Yes, good.
so, no, I think that's wonderful how you're problem solving. So let me ask you this. Are there, obviously what you're doing, I think is pretty unique. I mean, you're a unique individual to kind of take on this, to follow your passion. As you said, love is challenging. Love is not clear. Love takes work. And so I'm curious, are there other people like you? Are there other businesses that are doing what you're doing in any way? Or are you guys filling a pretty unique space there?
There are many actually. There are many,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone have got their own way of solving this particular problem. And like if you talk about India, we have got four startups which are focusing on space education, and they have got their own speciality. There is one startup who is very good in astronomy, astrophysics, and the way they teach that to students are really enjoying their content, and even they are enjoying working with them. There is one company who is into aeronautical where they are teaching about aircrafts, and we usually send our students to them because we consider them to be better than us in sharing the knowledge about the aircraft engineering. There's one more company who is building the community of space education and space research, and they're really doing good by creating content which can be consumed by the school students. So we have got many people here, who are contributing to this. We have got people in other countries as well. We have got initiatives, we have got clubs, startups, and a good thing about this industry is everyone is focusing in enhancing their skills and there's their USP that they have got, and we have got a collaborative nature. We don't have that competition nature that we need to be good at everything. We need to get their customers, and just we need to be the only king in the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's about if they are good at some point, we should recommend students to go to them and to take their service. And at some point, if they feel that at rocket science we are better than them, they send students to us. So we have got that coordination, we have got that cooperation between us, and that is how we are acting as family together. Because in the end, you have got people who are facing some challenges. The main focus is that person's challenges should be solved. He should be served. It's not about who is serving. It's not about me serving. It's not about the other person serving. It's about the problem should get solved as soon as possible. That is more important.
Okay, so it's very much about that collaboration and sort of that old adage of like rising all boats, by sharing that knowledge. And is that something that because is that something that you're seeing specific to kind of your industry because it's kind of new and people are really excited about it, or is it more part of the culture in general, the way you guys you approach challenges or you approach these things?
To be honest, this depends on the entrepreneurs, because I won't say that it's the same case for every startup that we have got in the same industry. You'll find people who have got the mindset of competition. You'll find people who have got mindset of just having them into the market and growing as a company and forgetting about other companies. uh, it's like even if you take a domain of digital marketing, you'll find people collaborating with each other. Few people are good at web development, few people are good at SEOs, few people are good at social media. So they collaborate and they build a community. And that is more important because in the end, it's all about building ecosystem. A person or a company cannot survive alone. Everyone together need to be present and work collaboratively to be there for a longer period of time. And like as a person, you can survive alone just for a few years, but companies are not there to be survived for a few years. Companies are there to be there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and for that you have community and ecosystem by helping each other. That's the
Got it.
only way one can do.
Yeah. So how, I mean, for you on a day-to-day basis, how are you measuring success? Like, what does success look like for you and the work that you're doing?
We have defined success and failures. We have redefined that these two definitions. Usually, we have got the normal definition that we have is if you are doing some work, if you complete it on time, and if you are satisfied, that means it's a success. But if you are not able to complete it on the deadlines, or if you are not able to complete it and serve your customer, you call it a failure. At start, we have redefined these definitions. If you are doing a task and if even if you complete it on time, but if you have done nothing new in that, if you have learned nothing new, that means it's a big failure.
Mhm.
And if you take a task, if you take a challenge, and even if you don't complete it, but if you complete just 50% of it, and if you learn something new from it, it's a big success. It's all about trying, experimenting, and learning something. I'll give you one more example. That
Mhm.
is, if you ask a person to climb a 10-floor building, and if you ask a person to climb Mount Everest, which is the highest peak on this planet, if that first person is able to climb the whole building, and that second person will be able to just climb 50% of the Mount Everest. According to our normal definition, the first person should be called successful because he have completed his work. But who have got the best learning experience, who can inspire you? It's the person who have just climbed 50% of the Mount Everest. So you cannot justify this success in failure on the basis of the completion of task. It's all about learning and trying out new things and taking up challenges.
I love it. It's there's this idea of like, setting higher goals, so that even if you get 50% of the way there, you're, to your point, I mean, if it's money, if you wanted to have your goal be 10 grand and you got halfway there, you got 5 grand. But if you had a goal of 100 grand and you got to 50, big difference. So I
Yes,
love
true,
that.
correct.
That's great. It's all about setting the goals. So I was curious, like, what have been just you said you've been in business for 5 years? Is that right?
Uh, Core business, like actually 3 years, to be
Okay.
honest. Like 5 years before we started building rockets, but business 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Okay. And what has been kind of your what would you sort of rank as your biggest kind of success or your biggest wins to date? The things that you're really proud of that stand out for you.
I share an incident with you. In 2018, I was traveling to Mumbai, which is a city in India. It's 4,400 kilometers from the city where I live. I was traveling there, and at that time everything was smooth, and we were incubated by my college campus, and everything was smooth. And when I reached there, I got a call from my college campus that you have to shift your lab out of our campus now. Like our our MOU is completed. That was for 2 years, and by afternoon you have to shift your lab. And I was really depressed because for 2 years I worked there, and we were told that now we cannot operate from the same campus, and we were given no time to shift our workplace.
Hmm.
And obviously, you cannot get a place. It's very difficult to get a place in any city in India where you can build rockets. You are dealing with explosives. No one will allow you to work.
Hmm.
At that time, I was really depressed. Actually started crying because it was a very difficult time for me. It was happening for the very first time. I guess first biggest challenge I faced in the journey of startup. And I thought everything is gone now. My team members will be there on their way, and I guess we won't be operating at least for a few months, and then I have to figure out something new and then get them back again.
And you're
Next day,
you're 400 miles away. Is that right?
Yes, I was
Okay.
400 miles away from my team members, and I had only, only way to communicate was to call them and just to talk to them. And what we do is every day in morning, we put a to-do list in a WhatsApp group. On the next day, I thought because we don't have our laboratory, I thought we won't get any to-do list now. When I woke up, I saw a to-do list, and I called my team member that we don't have a laboratory now. How will we be able to complete this work? And they said that the biggest asset that we have is not our laboratory, it's our team.
Mm.
The biggest asset is our team. And if we are there together at this time, we can set up 100 more laboratories in just 2 years. And that is what made me feel successful, that this is what I wanted. I wanted crazy people in my team who can be together during the tough times and who can share this particular failure on the take it on their shoulder, and they can work. And that is what everyone did. Everyone took it as a big responsibility, and together we actually got out, and just in 2 months we set up 2 laboratories in our city now. So that is what I consider to be one of the successful failures that we had, and I always cherish that particular moment.
I love that. So that, I mean, that's a true testament, I think, to what you talked about earlier, that building that community, building a great team of people that are passionate and work and collaborate, because it wasn't, I could see that you were feeling like, well, this is on me, to fix, and I'm 400 miles away, and yet you were able to, you've built enough goodwill and you've got a great team, and they were able to step up and solve this, you know which I think is also a testament to the day-to-day of what you guys do, because it's, there is no silver bullet when it comes to the types of work you're doing. I mean, you're learning, you're growing, you're experimenting, you're failing, and growing. And it definitely goes back to that whole, are you going 10 stories or are you going Everest? And it's like, hey, come on, we're all going up Everest here. We all need to work together. That's awesome. I love that. So one of the next ones I have is about sort of your greatest disappointment or missed opportunity, but it sounds like that was, as you said, it was kind of a failure that turned into its success, or maybe it's a success because it was a failure. Are there things that anything you've done along the way that you regret, or that it was a missed opportunity that you were like, we should have been able to do that, or I should have done that? Anything that you sort of look back on and wish you'd approach differently?
I do not regret for anything that happened in my life. A lot of failures I've experienced. If I have to put a ratio, and if I have to define my life in the terms of ratio of success and failures, I guess 90% were the failure points, and just 10% is the success point where we have actually, come up with a very good outcome of learning. Every time we mess up things, we do something with things that goes wrong, and we are immune to the failures now. I don't regret for anything, but there are disappointments at a lot of places. To be honest, it's very challenging for me to scale up a company. In edtech, you have seen in pandemic, a lot of people have made Android applications or iOS-based applications, and they have generated millions of revenues. The problem with me and my team member right now is we don't want to get into that valuation game. We want to be on the side of impact creation. For example, if you want to learn rocket science, if you just watch a recorded video, you'll get some knowledge, but you won't get that feeling, and you won't be able to create a bond between with your teacher, right? And a bond creation between teacher and student is very important. A teacher should not be just for sharing knowledge. If a student have got any personal life issue, he or she should be able to share that with teacher. That kind of bond is needed. Now, if you create an application, you can get millions of rupee of revenue, but you cannot create that bond. And at Star, we want that bond to be there between teachers and students. So we are doing the sessions. We are doing those sessions live. So that is the reason. What we are doing is we are procrastinating our scaling, strategies, and we are just doing things which are creating more and more impact. And we are not regretting for that, but only disappointment is that so far we have not figured out a good recipe of or an idea which can scale the company and which can also create that impact that we are looking forward to have. But hopefully, my team have worked and created a model, and I guess we are implementing it by December 2021. And I guess it is going to be one of the kind in India, and it is going to be very much useful for students. So just hoping for the best.
Yeah, it's interesting. As I asked you that question, I realized that regret, I don't feel like is part of your vocabulary or your mindset. I feel like it's not regret. It's a it's a learning. It's an experience
Yes.
that we've now rolled into our next learning, our next growth. I just jotted down. I love that impact creation. I think that's a wonderful way to think about it. And, and as you've said, I mean, there may be the challenges sort of with when it comes to revenue or what's this model or how do we grow or the sustainability. But I think it all comes back to the people and the community that you've created. And, I know that when you and I started interacting, I immediately started getting connection requests from, all over the place, all people that, they were interns, they were students, they were aspiring to work with you. And, and who am I? And so the fact that like, just by you and I sharing a few things online, they're all of a sudden, they're like, how do we learn? How do we, I think speaks volumes. And it's definitely one of the, aside from just your personality and your energy, I've always found you to be an incredible person because, there is no playbook or roadmap here. This is, you're figuring it out as you go, which I think is part of entrepreneurship. And you're doing it in a space that I think is just constantly evolving and changing. And there's a level of complexity that I think, above and beyond, someone that's developing a product and selling it. That's hard enough. Develop the product, find a market, find a customer, sell it. And here you are like, well, we're doing that, but it's on this grand scale. And again, we sort of joke that, the old joke, like, well, this isn't rocket science. It's like, well, actually this is. Plus we're trying to build a business. So I was curious, is there anything that would, if there was sort of like, how do I phrase this? If there was one thing that would make things easier for you, is there, I don't want to say there's a silver bullet to solving the problem, but is there something that that would be wildly beneficial to you at this point in your growth that would make life easier?
Yes. So like, thing is, if if this happens, I guess for every person on this planet, life will be very much easy. That is, every person on this planet should have only one mindset, that is of serving people and collaborating with people. That's it. If that happens, all the problems can be solved. Imagine that you were traveling, yeah, you were traveling on a road, and then you just saw someone meeting with an accident, and you stopped your vehicle and just you went there and you helped that person out. And you had a very important meeting to be attended where you were just about to sign a deal of $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
but you thought of missing that just because someone was needing your help, and you gave that person a priority. And that is what we call selfless intention, and that is the kind of culture that we want to create in our company. We always tend to put this thing in the mind of our team members, that nothing can come on the top, or nothing can be there on the top than the medical emergencies. If someone in your family, in your relation, or even to the person whom you don't know, is suffering from some problems, you can always miss meetings, and it's fine if you don't inform us. If you It's fine if you don't take your time out to write us an email. First, help them out. It should be a priority, and then only like, we can call ourselves successful, because that is why we exist. We are here to solve problems, right? It can be any problem then. So that is the culture that we want to have, and I just wish that in world, every person, if start thinking this way, I guess all the problems will be solved. Everyone will be happy.
Wow. See, again, Sonny, you blow my mind because, some people, when I ask that question, it's like, well, I wish we'd been able to get that investment that we had, 6 months ago, or I wish that we'd been able to qualify for this or that. And I'm not surprised now that I think about it that your answer is, I wish people just would help each other out, and collaborate. And it makes me think of, I've had a lot of conversations lately with people that are, oh, I lost, oh, Sunny, did we lose you? Oh, hold on. Hang on, I think Sunny got disconnected. Let's see if he can rejoin. Oop, you back?
Really sorry. Yeah, you were saying something.
That's okay. I was just saying that what you're describing is very much what I've been talking about with a lot of people, as it relates to solving our environmental challenges, clean energy, clean water, clean air, and that there is no silver bullet, there is no sort of one company, one country, one solution. It's everybody doing something, and it doesn't matter what that is. Everybody doing something, and collaborating, to address this, because it's interesting because I was listening to one of your interviews the other day, and you were talking about sort of Mars, and the fact that Mars can be the next Earth, or I can't remember how you phrased it, but to many people though, it's like, this is all we got. So you can argue over politics and geography and governments and things like that, but we ain't got anywhere else to go. So we need to work together. And the irony is that I say that knowing that, like, you're actually thinking bigger. You're thinking sort of like beyond this world.
Yeah.
And
By the way, I would like to add to this that I follow like a lot of people on different platforms, and it's not so often you find people putting any a content to help others. You are one of the people who always tend to help others by your content. And what I've seen is through your post, and this I have learned from you. To be honest, I need to share this with you. I have learned from you. Whatever work you do, you don't need to keep it by your within yourself. You have to share it with others, your knowledge, your experience, and you have to inspire people. So I had a meeting with my team members. I shared about this, that I am following a person on a social media platform, and one thing I have learned from him is he's really good at design, he's really good at communication, and we need to inculcate this in our institute. And and that is how, and you are one of the examples of how people helping each other can create a big impact. So I guess if we get 1,000 people like you in our connection, the growth will be exponential.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I have just been, my heart gets really, really full when I interact with people, and I have connection calls like we did many months back. And I had a couple yesterday with some new people. And like I said, everybody in different ways is doing what they can. And I'm truly, it gives me hope, because it's so easy, I think, to look at media and look at what's going on in the world and feel like, this is just a downhill slide and everyone's fighting, and there's division, at least in this country, I would imagine in many countries. But I also have this crazy idea that, we as human beings can solve these problems, and humanity is bigger than this, and so, and I appreciate you saying that, because it's very much what I'm trying to cultivate is really, and then that's the thing when I think about what I do. I don't have technical expertise. I don't have money to invest. I don't have a lot of the sort of traditional ways of supporting people doing interesting work. But what I do have is the ability to help them communicate that and help them rally more people to support them. And on one hand, I sort of downplay it, but that's important, as you've learned and as you've demonstrated, that like being able to communicate, being able to rally a community, rally support is huge. And when I think about all of the great ideas that have come sort of through the history of human beings that we never heard about, because they didn't have a forum, they didn't have a soapbox from which to share that, or maybe they did and they just didn't do it effectively. And I'm so excited about where we are right now with technology that it's really leveling the playing field. I mean, there's absolutely no way traditionally that you and I ever would have interacted without the technology. There's probably no way you would be able to do much of what you do with your students without the technology. I mean, pandemic aside. Um, and so I feel like it's this incredible kind of inflection point in our history as human beings on this world that, like, yes, there's a lot of division and challenges and that kind of thing, but there's also just so much opportunity to use what we have to really have an impact. And so sorry, I'm off on a tangent, but I get
No,
very
I'm
excited
enjoying.
talking
Yeah,
about
I'm
that. So let me ask you this: where do you see sort of yourself and Star and your students? Where do you see it kind of like? What's sort of the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 25-year plan? Or is there such a thing? What is your hope and dream for kind of what this can become and what ultimately happens?
So I have a very clear vision that in next 5 to 10 years, I really want, space education to be accessible for every student on this planet. And by every student, I mean the students who cannot afford the course as well. Like for example, the students who live in villages and who live in tier 3 cities in India, who have got no access to the normal education as well. And we want to reach out to them, providing the service and for free of cost, and just helping them to pursue their dream of becoming space pioneer or anything they want to be. And the second is we really want to come up with more and more innovations which will help humans to sustain their life on Mars. So we are planning that uh, you know the biggest asset this planet have got is the youth.
Mhm.
They are the next generation of space right now. They're not habituated with the traditional processes that people have said since years. They always come up with new innovations, they always come up with new ideas. So they have got ideas which can be converted into the real life applications and which can help people to sustain their life on different planets. So we want to be a platform that can help students to implement their ideas at small scale, which can be further commercialized by space companies in future. And that is how students will get a sense of their existence and their contribution in industries. So this is what we are looking forward to have, and for that we are setting up multiple maker spaces with equipped with a lot of fourth generation technologies like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, 3D printing, and providing them the enough resources so that they can work on the innovative ideas and they can build prototypes out of it.
Wow. So it's almost like I'm going to use the launching pad metaphor for the innovative thinking and unique perspectives of young people, and that's there's a never ending supply because there's always going to be people coming with new ideas, new perspectives, from one village to one city. They've got a whole different perspective on things and solving problems. So I know I was listening to one of your other interviews, and I know that you ask your students, this question: what do they want to be remembered for? And so let me ask you, what do you, Sunny, wish to be remembered for? When we're no longer on this world, what would you like people to be saying?
I would like to be remembered as a teacher because I I really like this profession. I really enjoy this. Teaching is an art, and I like to talk. I like talking to students, and I like to improve my process of communicating and conveying things to students. And I mentioned on in one of my talks that if you teach a person, two people learns. That means you are also learning actually, and that is one of best way to learn something. So I would like to be remembered as a teacher, and I really want to reach out to millions and millions of students. And I don't want to get retired in my life even after 50 years, 60 years. I just want to serve students. I know at that time I don't know, like, I won't be able to reach out to 100 students in one go, but even if I get two students sitting in front of me, I would like to share knowledge. I would like to inculcate good things in them and just make them happier.
Wonderful. I love that. So, is there, or from the standpoint of supporting you, helping you increase your impact, is there anything that, we've got people listening here, anything that people can do to help support you, so that you can increase your impact, and educate more people. I'd just be curious.
One thing that everyone can do, and that needs no expensive resources, no, not much of their time as well, and that is very simple. If you really want to help me and if you really want to help our community, what you can do is you can take an initiative where you can teach one person in your life something to that person, whatever you are good at. If you're good at cooking, you can teach a person how to cook, and that can be useful for that person, and he can sustain, in this society. Uh, you can, whatever knowledge you have got, and you have to select a person who have got no access to education. We are here, Star is here to solve that problem. That is the problem where students are not having access to education. And if you are solving that problem, if you are serving someone, if you are teaching something to a person, that means indirectly you are completing our vision, and we will be happy with that. You don't need to register in our company, you don't need to be a part of our company or services. The problem is there. Just go out, just solve them by teaching whatever thing you're good at. If you're good at digital marketing, teach to that to one person. If you're good at creating content and making designs, select a person who have got no access to these resources, teach them, and that person will be able to earn money and will be able to sustain his or her own life. So that is what we want to do, and if you can do that, it will be much useful for all of us.
Wow, a teacher through and through. I love that. It's not about you, it's not about Star, it's about everyone out there sharing what they can, helping someone, and moving things forward. So that's awesome. This is a perfect note to end on, because I think that is a great rallying cry for people listening to just go out, take what you know, take what you're passionate about, and teach it to someone else. Help them move forward in whatever they're doing. So awesome, my friend Sunny. Thank you so much for your time. It has been such a pleasure, and I learned a tremendous amount, even though I know we've chatted a few times before. But I'm so thankful that we were able to meet and chat, and I am so thankful for you for being part of this world and doing the work that you're doing, because it's incredibly valuable, and just thank you so much for your passion.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really enjoyed the direction, and the questions were really good. And that forced me to sketch my ad. And to be honest, it's always good talking to you. I always get to learn many things, and keep doing the great work. You're really inspiring people, and especially people like me who want to learn many things. And I'm looking forward to have great interaction. I'm surely going to invite you for one of our sessions as well very soon. So looking forward to have you in India.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it as well. And so thank you so much